Problem B asks on what intervals is x minus 1 squared times x plus 2 times 8 minus x greater than 0. So, in order to solve this problem, we need to view or treat the right side of this inequality as a function. And that function would be f of x equals x minus 1 squared times x plus 2 times 8 minus x. And if you can see over here on the left, this is a graph of what that function would be like after doing some of the work. You don't need that to solve this problem. I just did it as support for this work over here on the right. But essentially how you solve this problem is that you know that this equation for a function that they've given you is already in factored form, which means that any x value that you put in each of these factors, which makes that factor equal to 0, is an x-intercept of the function, and y equals 0 at that point. So for this factor, the x value of 1 makes the function 0. In this one, the x value of negative 2 makes the function 0. In this one, the x value of 8 makes the function 0. So the x-intercepts of the functions as shown here are 8, 0, negative 2, 0, and 1, 0. And so the function that they've given you, you know that it's continuous along this interval. And the intervals relevant to this problem, we know, are the intervals negative infinity to negative 2, negative 2 to 1, and 1 to 8, and 8 to infinity. Because those are the intervals in which the function values of this function are not equal to 0. So they either have to be less than or greater than 0. And to find out whether they're less than or greater than 0, we have to plug in an x value on each of these intervals to find whether the x values in that interval produce function values greater than or less than 0. So for the first interval, negative 2 to infinity, I chose the x value negative 3 and plugged that in, and when I calculated it, I got that the answer equals 16 times negative 1 times 11. And this would come out to be a negative value. So we know that all of the function values from negative infinity to 2 on this function are below 0 or negative. So that interval is not one of the answers. And then for the interval negative 2 to 1, I used the value 0. And when I plug 0 in, I got 1 times 2 times 8. And this comes out to be a positive value. So we know that all the values in between negative 2 and 1 on this function are positive. So that would be an interval. That is the correct answer for this question. And then for the interval 1 to 8, I plugged in the x value 4 and got a positive value, 3 squared times 6 times 4, which would end up being a positive value. And for the interval 8 to infinity, I plugged in the x value 9 and got that it would be a negative value, because 8 minus 9 is a negative 1. And so, based on this work, the two intervals that have where the function value is greater than 0 for all x values are negative 2 to 1 and 1 to 8.